Welcome back to The Most Important Thing. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Greg, and together we're exploring family culture and leadership at home.
And today we're talking about power.
Power.
In particular, in a partnership of equals, what does it really mean to hold the power, and how do decisions get made?
Yeah.
And so a few months back in episode 28, we talked about our shared systems. I believe we called it How We Divide, Conquer, and Connect, right? Stand up, quarterly investment meeting, annual vision setting. And so that's how we stay aligned in the day-to-day. But today we wanted to go a layer deeper because it's something that's coming up for us quite a bit. And we're talking about when a real decision has to be made, who decides and why.
Yeah. Well, even though we're a partnership of equals, right, we can't always have an equal say in things because one of us has a lot more on the line than the other.
For sure. And I think especially as we are in a period of transition right now, where we have let go of our nanny and absorbed a lot of the responsibilities that used to be handled by her, many things have been redistributing. And so there's been a power vacuum. I don't want to say power has been up for grabs because it's not like, I don't think either of us are chasing after more things to do around here.
Definitely not. But it's the team has changed it in composition, and therefore some of us have to step into different roles at times, right?
Yeah. I like to think of a baseball analogy, especially as it relates to the children and really like our social life. I think that prior to this, you and I were both the GMs in the skybox.
Yep.
Right? And we were delegating a lot and really directing how activities would happen.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have shifted to being the manager on the field. I'm spending a lot more of my time coaching and actually being in the game.
And sometimes being the janitor.
And sometimes being the game. Right? And in this time, the genesis of this episode and how we really started thinking about the power dynamics is because a couple weekends ago, there was a birthday party that you felt really strongly the day of that we should not attend.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of emotion that you were carrying, right? It was the way that our child acts around this person and whether she becomes that kid's energy mirror.
More than anything, a relationship between our daughter and another child has brought up feelings in me about a relationship that felt imbalanced when I was growing up and what I would have wanted to know back then that I know now. And my simple heuristic was, we need to zoom out. We can't invest in this relationship without seeing the world for so many other kids, so many other potential friendships,
right,
even if they don't go to this school.
But that's not how you presented that morning.
How I presented that morning was, I'm frustrated by the way that you show up because of this person, and this person's energy is very confusing to this household.
And so therefore you're not going.
Therefore you're not going.
And so, we've had a couple of moments like this before, but what I started to really get curious about, and the reason why I think it's an important topic, is because you were adamant that we should not go. And I disagreed, but also knew that you weren't going to win this argument because I have the power when it comes to ultimately deciding on what social activities we're doing with the children right now. And why is that?
Yeah,
right?
Why is that?
And so it was a little bit confusing for the kids because they're like, Daddy says we're not going and he feels really strongly about it, but Mommy's saying don't worry, Daddy's just having a lot of feelings, we're going, right? And that, it was confusing even to me in the moment. I'm like, how do I hold space for Greg while ultimately making a decision for our family that I, as the person who holds the responsibility and can kind of see the whole system, may make a different choice?
Yeah, and I think after the fact, what I realized is that in that moment, I wasn't so concerned about winning or losing that decision, but I just wanted to know that I mattered, that my voice mattered there.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do I accept the L while still holding my sense of dignity?
So that's what we're going to get into today. Based on the research of John Gottman's relationships and family systems theory, we are going to share 3 simple principles that we are using in our marriage today to design decision making in a way that keeps us aligned, hopefully avoids resentment, and makes us feel good in the moment. So, the 3 principles are: equality does not equal symmetry, learning how to accept influence and circle back, and to recognize that roles are explicit today and yet must be revisitable over time.
For sure.
So, shall we unpack them?
Let's do it.
Okay, great. So, the first one is equality does not mean symmetry. And I think most of us in relationships know that, right? That we can be a partnership of equals, but that our realms of influence are different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that just acknowledging that sometimes, there are areas of our marriage where you hold more of the power. And key to this, though, what we're realizing is that authority must live where responsibility lives in order to have a healthy, stable system. And what we mean by responsibility here is really who's going to feel the weight of what happens next. Who's the one that's tracking the variables? Who's carrying the load? Who's really truly carrying the load and absorbing the consequences, both in our family and in the community?
Right. Yeah, it was a great awareness to redefine power and authority with the consequence, as opposed to the who cares about it more or who's got believability in that domain or anything like that.
Sure.
It's really about the consequence.
So you mean going back to the birthday party example? You're
Yeah.
saying that I would really bear the brunt of the consequences of our family not showing
going.
up
Yeah.
for that other family.
Exactly.
Right? And so but going back to our natural system, I do think that we have like a pretty good natural system already, where I think travel is a great example, right? Where I say, Greg, this is like the general time where the kids are off of break, where it's a lot of feel and emotion, right? That we're going to need to take a vacation. And here's the general area of the world that I want to go to. And this is what I need the vibe to be.
Yeah.
And then you get to work.
That's right.
And I so appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you figure out what's our budget and what's in our budget and the logistics of how we're going to get there, where we're going to stay, what gear we're going to bring, right? And it's this dynamic conversation that unfolds around what might be within our budget versus what's in our vibe, right? And that's kind of the back and forth that we've naturally landed upon.
Yes.
And I would also say you're the final arbiter when it comes to financial
right,
decisions.
Sure. How we're going to get there, where we're going to stay, how
much it's going to cost.
How much it's going to cost.
Yes, exactly. So that has been I think a great opportunity for us to play to our own strengths.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's really social is the one that's come up for us. And maybe this is one I would think for a lot of couples and a lot of families, that maybe one of the partners runs more of the social calendar. Say it's the wife that runs it, but that the husband probably has a lot of opinions as well, or at least if you're anything like my husband, you have a lot of opinions on who we spend our time with, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. And so, but if I am the one that ultimately absorbs the consequences of where our family shows up and where we are spending our time versus not, then this has to reside. Like, I have to have the final decision. But, and this is number 2, it's equally as important to accept influence and to really hear what you have to say about those decisions in order for us to maintain the emotional integrity of the system.
Yeah. No, in these conversations, as long as I am feeling like my voice is heard, I can accept that you have the final decision, because you're holding space for me in those conversations as you make the decision, and you're playing back what you heard, how it's impacting the decision, and where you're going as a result of that, or in the face of that.
Right. And so I think it's important to note that equal partners do not make every decision together, but it is my hope that we can design a system that takes both of us fully into account.
Yeah.
I think we should double click, as they say, talk a little bit more about how we can accept influence and make space for the other person's feelings. Like, I know that you really wanted to be taken seriously and to know that your inner world mattered. And I think that this is the most important thing that we do in front of our children,
It
right?
is. Yeah.
Because it was very confusing for the girls in particular. Maverick's kind of a little bit oblivious to these things at 4 years old still, but it was very confusing to the girls as to how this was going to play out, given you had very strong emotions, but I had the decision making power. And so how can we really make the accepting influence piece explicit within our family? And what we did was that birthday party happened over the weekend, but on Monday morning, as soon as, when you and I were eating breakfast after the kids had gone on Monday morning, we got out the whiteboard just for you and me,
Yep.
right? And I really tried to understand what it is that is bothering you. And I think some of it certainly was like this child's energy rubbing off on our kids, and there's some of that.
Yeah, sure.
But there was more. And you want to share a bit more about what came up for you then?
For sure. So first about the birthday party, um, the feelings that came up for me were about my childhood. I grew up in a small town, and the impact on me about how big the world was didn't show up until I really zoomed out much later in life and saw that the kids that I was going to school with were not the end all be all of my existence.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really want for Hunter, especially given that we live in such an amazing, multifaceted community where there's lots of kids that are in the neighborhood, but not all of them go to the same school because for lots of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
That zooming out on the weekends and not spending all her time with the same 6 kids
Yeah.
on the weekends is really going to be a benefit to her, because it's going to make her feel more unbothered if things happen at school, because she knows that she has these friends in other places.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really important.
Yeah. So we made a decision that we were going to start to emphasize hanging out with neighborhood kids outside of school.
Yep.
Easy. Check done. The other thing that I heard you say in that conversation was that you felt as though your parents kept you spending time with kids that were mean to you because they were in the community, or maybe your parents liked their
Right.
parents, and that really didn't feel good to you looking back upon this.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I forgot about that, and that is very true. What I didn't like growing up was how I was forced into time with kids that I didn't want to spend time with,
Mm-hmm.
because of either we went to not only did we go to the same school where we were guaranteed to spend time, but then it was after school sports. It was on the weekends at the club, or playing tennis, or at camps, and it was just the same set of kids because of the same relationships, and I just didn't want that for our family.
Hmm. May I just ask, like, did you express this to your parents, do you think? Or you just didn't even know?
I didn't know.
You didn't know that the world was bigger
I didn't know that
than
the
the
world
set
was
of
bigger.
kids that you socialized with,
Correct.
both in and out of school.
Correct.
And so what you're hoping is that we can fast forward that process a little bit for our kids and teach them earlier on that the world is way bigger than the children in your class.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not just bigger than the kids in the class, but bigger than this state, than this, country. Like, you and I are connecting with people all over right now because of this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
that are living out their values and that are structuring families differently than we ever have thought about before.
I also hear you wanting to help our children avoid the pain that you experienced.
Yeah, of course.
I know. And I don't know that that's possible, but I know that that's a beautiful sentiment as their father.
I don't think it's as much about avoiding the pain, but it's being less bothered by it.
Yeah, I see that. You really don't want them to be bothered by the children they go to school with.
Because that will create a shift in power. So
I
this
know
is
that's what you
why
think. I know that's what you
if
think.
you show up as unbothered in school, you have the power because someone that is trying to get your goat is not going to be able to anymore
Is
because
it
you don't
goat?
care.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I never tried that. I'm still working on the unbothered aspect of things, and not reacting to everything that I notice. And I definitely was very bothered in elementary school. So
It's
TBD.
yeah,
But I hear you yearning for that for our kids. And I think this is not our first conversation about this topic, but I also believe that pain is the touchstone of spiritual growth,
Mhm.
and that we have to let them get messy and learn things for
Mhm.
themselves, even if these are lessons that we have already learned.
Yeah. I think that growing up is so peer centered, and the way to show up with more confidence wherever you are as a child is to have people that you look forward to spending time with that are not people that are giving you angst.
Yeah.
And that to me is the most important thing about creating friendships. It's ones that even if you see them once a year, that you look forward to that interaction versus that you dread what you might do in front of them or what might happen or what they might say or who they might gang up on you with.
Mm.
But that you have no other choice. And so you go throughout life with these children living rent free in your head, and you're not able to study for, the test or focus on, what's actually really good in your life because these thoughts keep coming up.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Can I be really honest?
Yeah.
I think you're projecting a bit. I,
Hmm.
I don't think we're there yet. And that's not to say that we couldn't be. And I want to accept your influence in this
Yeah.
conversation as
Hmm.
well and say, like, great, like, let's look out for that. But I don't think that we are currently there with our 8, 6, or 4 year olds. I think you and I have had different experiences. It sounds like yours was pretty pervasive and persistent. Whereas I, by and large, like the same friends that I really felt nourished by for many years of my life, also were brutal, bitter enemies at
Hmm.
other times of my
Yeah.
life. And so it was really just learning that relationships have different seasons,
Mm.
and that, I mean, some of these girls are still some of my best friends today. I get like a little choked up thinking about it,
Yeah.
and like we've been through a lot, right?
Yeah.
We've been through a lot. So I think we both have different perspectives, and it remains to be seen. But this is what the accepting influence piece is all about, is that like I think that we've taken Gottman's definition and really expanded it for what it's worth. I think
Yeah.
Gottman's definition of accepting influence is primarily about men hearing women's opinions, is my understanding
Mm.
of it truly. And it's really about allowing them to have any type of say into
Yeah.
decision making. But I'm leveraging the term and extending it here because in the same way that we set aside time to intentionally hold space for our children when something is coming up, something's coming out sideways around a behavior,
Yeah.
what you expressed the other weekend really seemed so, and there's just a lot wrapped up into it. And I do think that it's my job as your partner
Hmm.
to, not throw a grenade into our community by saying Newfields are not doing this thing,
Yeah.
but to really hear where you're coming from,
Hmm.
say, and I haven't said this explicitly yet, but I'm sorry that you went through that. And it hurts my heart for little Greg that was your
Thank
experience.
you. But
And
yeah,
I promise to work with you to look out for our kids in that way.
they're going to need it. Being
Maybe, I
no
don't know.
being precocious does not get you friends. It gets you attention. And attention is what sucks the air out of the room of others that they try to get back through other ways.
I think we make a great team.
Yeah.
I think that we will strike a good balance.
Oh, totally.
I am much more a prepare the child for the path, not prepare the path for the child.
Yeah.
And so I really want to believe that we can support the kids as things come up and that we can have strong enough relationships that they can share things with us. But what I don't want to do, and the one thing I would caution us against, given how strongly you feel about this, is trying to work overtime to protect them from harm so that they never get to have necessary experiences.
Sure. No, I get
and
that.
and really grow through them and work through them themselves.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so more to be revealed around this one dynamic with as our children get older, how to support them in skill building without overprotecting them from harm.
Yeah.
But between the two of us, I'm happy to sit with you and spend time holding space for you and understanding why this is triggering
No, I
you so
appreciate
much.
that.
And then together with me as the ultimate decision maker, we can decide what gets filtered down to our children.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, I believe that we are really extending the John Gottman term of accepting influence here,
Yeah.
probably because I'm a woman and I really do believe in holding space for emotions, but I know that you and I have agreed upon this idea of accepting influence and understanding each other's emotions and then agreeing to circle back,
Yes.
right? And making
Yeah.
sure that the decisions that I have ultimately made with your influence work for you. And if they don't, like, how can we continue to calibrate so that we are more aligned, right? And so we set forth that you want our family to spend more time with people that don't go to school with us so that we can really zoom out, as you say. And I hope you feel like we've been doing that.
Yeah.
Subsequently. And
It's great.
And that's the way that I've been accepting the influence.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just mapping out who those people are felt so good.
I know it did. That's what the whiteboard is for. And it's not a perfect science, and we will continue to calibrate. And that doesn't mean we're never going to spend time with people that go to their school. But I know that you wanted an opportunity to diversify, and I hear you.
Yeah.
So accepting influence and circling back to make sure that we stay aligned and that we're progressing in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then the third one is that roles must be explicit, but also revisitable. And so it's this balance, right?
Yeah.
Between we know where we are today and we have to make sure to occasionally revisit these ideas and make sure that we are not locking ourselves into permanent roles.
I started family meeting with this story about, don't make me try to remember it, but it's about ancient Rome and how during times of struggle, they put powerful people in that were really good at particular things. They would say, we're only putting them in for a little bit of time. We're going to pull them back. And they never did because they forgot how to do these things as a society. And so we talked with the kids just about like how people see you and what are the things that you wish people would see more of.
Mm-hmm. It's like, what are your current roles?
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought that was a really great exercise for them all to name the ways that they believe that they show up in the world that maybe people aren't noticing.
Mm-hmm. It was great. And then last weekend we did it for the two of us.
Yes.
Right. Which was a great reminder from one of my friends that we should probably include the two of us there too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's actually a wonderful, we haven't talked about experiments in a while, but if I may offer our listeners an experiment, it was really fun to really talk with each person about what we notice about them and what they wished we noticed more of.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so great. I feel like I've been a little like somber on this topic, and I actually really like this. I think that knowing that we have a way to have a conversation about anything, name whose decision it is, name for the other person to have their voice heard, name that we will hold space for that, talk about how the decision gets made, and circle back, and then revisit these roles of authority over time. That feels like a huge win.
Yeah, it does. And that's why we're sharing it.
Yeah.
Right? So a partnership of equals, what does it really mean? Authority aligned with responsibility, emotional legitimacy for both people, and roles that evolve as life changes.
We forgot one thing, a huge thing, that when we have space for hearing the other in a position where authority is named and the other is held space for, and we circle back, we are in the best position of all to disagree and commit.
Ah, yes, it's true. When we hold the space and we circle back, that is what creates the feelings of psychological safety and trust.
Exactly.
And we are on the same team. This person has my best interest at heart that allows me to disagree and commit.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Got to get those hats.
I will always disagree and commit with you.
Me too. Ditto. That's a good commitment to make.
It is.
And if we're not willing to disagree and commit, then we need to work on something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good harbinger.
If we disagree and commit, we don't need to be keeping score.
There's no score to keep.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we're on the same team.
That's right.
Well said, Greg. It's true.
Thanks.
Okay, great. So until next time, let us know what you notice about your family members and what do you wish that more people noticed in you.
Yeah.
Love you, Goosey.
Love you, Goosey.
Hey guys, if you're still here, you're definitely our kind of person. Thanks for spending this time with us on the most important thing. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love for you to follow us wherever you get your podcasts and share it with someone else building family culture on purpose.